Welcome, everybody, to Austin Tech Connect. This is the official podcast of the Austin Technology Council, and my name is Thom Singer, and I have been with ATC now, I can't even believe this, 4 years as of next week. And it has been a very interesting journey. Some ups, some downs, some sideways, but we've made a lot of headway. We're doing some very cool things. If you have not checked out the Austin Technology Council, and if you haven't supported the Austin Technology Council in the last several years, now is the time, because we need your help, because we're doing more interesting things going forward in 2026 and 2027 to serve this community. So this podcast is brought to you by our sponsor, Calavista Software. And you know what? We couldn't do things like the events that we host. We just had the Austin Tech Hall of Fame. We've got the State of Tech luncheon coming up. We've got a special thing we're planning for the fall. We couldn't do that if it wasn't for community champion companies who step up and say, Austin matters, and give us their time and their treasure so that we can put those on. And Calavista sponsors this show for the entire year, and we appreciate that. So check out Calavista Software. So as you know, if you're a regular listener of this show, every week I try to bring you a cross-section of very interesting people from this community, both from people who are serving the tech community and people who have rolled up their sleeves and they're right in the middle of the most interesting tech. And today we are joined by Stephen Straus. He is the co-founder and CEO of KungFu.AI. Now here's the thing. He was actually a guest on this show 3 years ago. So if you go in the Wayback Machine to July of 2023, we were barely starting to talk about AI. The title of that episode is called The Age of AI. And it was very much like, whoa, what's going on with AI? Fast forward 3 years, we're on fire with AI, and KungFu.AI is right in the middle of it. If you don't know Stephen, you should, because he is one of these people who has been around a long time. He started his career as an investor. He's done a whole bunch of things. But what he does now is he leads what he considers to be one of the most cutting-edge professional services AI strategy firms out there. And here's the deal. He doesn't consider himself an AI expert, but he runs the company to put the experts and the geniuses in the right seats so that great things can happen. So check out KungFu.AI. Hey, Stephen, welcome to the show.
Thom, thank you very much for having me. And I just have to say an early happy birthday to you.
By the time this show airs, my birthday will be like a day or two past. So yes, that is true. that birthday is coming. So Stephen, first of all, do a better job of telling everybody what KungFu.AI is. And let's start with this. How'd you come up with the name KungFu?
Okay, Thom. So I really don't like naming companies. And I've started several other companies before, and it's always been a challenge. A friend came up with the name. The URL was available, and he said, this is a great name for the company. I was skeptical at first, but after I started, sharing the name with people, and they said, I really like the name. And if you started saying, I've heard of you before, when we didn't even, have a website, I was like, okay, we're going to go with this. And I'm so glad I did, because everywhere I go, people tell me they love the name. But that's the true story of where the name came from. But it turns out that Kung Fu in Chinese doesn't actually mean the martial arts. It actually means anything that you can, that takes hard work, discipline, and effort to master. So you can Kung Fu AI, or you could Kung Fu martial arts, or you could Kung Fu cooking. And so we tell people that, and I really like it because it very much fits.
So one of the things I love is that, we're right in the middle of this AI, everything's on fire, everything's AI. You didn't start this company in the last 4 years. You started this company in 2017. So
yeah, 6 years before ChatGPT came out.
Right. And so, are you a visionary? What led you to saying, I'm starting an AI company before everybody and their brother was starting AI companies?
Well, Thom, you and I met back in the 90s, and
we're that old. Yeah.
Yeah, we're that old. Well, it turns out, as we just realized, I'm over a year older.
You are much older, yes.
But Thom, you and I both had front row seats to the internet revolution here in Austin back in the 90s. And I think it was pattern matching for some reason in 2016 and 2017 when I was trying to figure out what I was going to do next. And I really wanted to start another company. that I got conviction that AI was going to be the next big wave to come through, like the internet did, and change everything, disrupt industries, and be the new basis of competition. And my co-founders and I all found each other because we were basically wandering around in the wilderness talking about the same thing. And we clearly were right directionally, but we were wildly off from a timing point of view because we all were convinced that 3 years later, the wave would be here. So 9 years later, it's here. But that's kind of the story.
Nice. So why don't you give everybody sort of a quick overview of what the company does, who you serve, and what makes you so awesome?
Yeah, that sounds great. Thank you, Tom. So, we are a boutique professional services firm focused on AI strategy and engineering. And we work with, upper middle market to enterprise size companies. And we help them with their strategy, organizational transformation to become an AI-centric company and the change management to do that. And we build custom capabilities. And as far as differentiation goes, Tom, when we started the company, there were no LLMs, and everything we were doing was, what people now call traditional AI, but is deep learning, based models and built on proprietary data. And we're deep experts across that, full capability. And now we're deep experts in LLMs and agentic AI. But the thing that really makes us special is that we marry strategy and engineering. So our strategy work is deeply informed by what's possible by using any or all of the techniques that are available for AI, not just generative AI. And we have the ability to build custom, bespoke anything with AI. The way I think about everybody else is that prior to, ChatGPT, I could almost, it was almost impossible to find any other services firm doing AI services. And since ChatGPT, it's almost, impossible to find any services firm that doesn't say they do AI, which means everybody else is, at most 3.5 years old into this. And almost everyone has kind of stumbled on, the fact that everybody is conflating AI with LLMs. So they didn't move past LLMs. It's kind of like going to a construction site with your tool belt and a hammer in it, as opposed to leaving your whole truck with all your tools and leaving the backhoe and the concrete mixer and the kind of all the other stuff there for building stuff. Like everybody else has just got a hammer looking for nails, and they're missing almost all the other tools out there. That's how I think about what we do in our differentiation.
Nice. So with things moving so fast, right? You had a front row seat because you got there 6 years before everybody else. What is the most interesting thing from your vantage point when you look at this AI boom, right? You saw the internet boom, you lived through it, you were, doing a lot of stuff around that. Now that you're, got a front row seat for this, what's the thing where you go, whoa, nobody's noticing this?
Okay, that's a great question, Tom, because I think that almost everybody is missing this one point. And it's crazy that they are, because if you ask people, like, is AI disruptive? They'll say, yeah, AI is disrupting everything. And then they'll say, yeah, and we're automating our business with AI. And then I ask them, why are you automating your business? Why aren't you thinking about how to disrupt your industry? Because if you're just automating your business and not thinking about how you're going to be the disruptor, you're going to be out of business. It's kind of like saying, hey, I really want to automate Blockbuster Video. Like, who cares? You're dead. And so everybody's so focused on automation, but missing the bigger point, which is every industry is going to get disrupted. And you should be thinking about how you are going to disrupt your industry. Interesting. And Tom, bringing back to my original, point about kind of differentiation for us, I don't think you're going to differentiate your industry, differentiate or change your industry with an LLM. I think it's going to be a deep learning model based on proprietary data aimed at a very strategic, point in your industry. That's going to be the disruptor.
Interesting. Well, one of the reasons I wanted to have you on the show is you've written a book, and it's coming out
That's
in
correct.
October of this year. It's available now on Amazon for pre-order, but I really kind of love the idea of the book because it's a business fable, and I'm a big fan of Patrick Lencioni. I met him several times back kind of around the time that his first The 5 Dysfunctions of a Team came out. But you've written a business fable book around this idea of, for lack of a better term, I guess, leadership in the world of AI. So the book is called Wayfinding, and I'd love for you just to give us, first of all, why did you write a book?
Yeah, sure. So, Thom, this is the first time I'm publicly talking about the book. This is the first interview I've had about the book.
You've all heard it here on Austin Tech Connect. When the book becomes a national bestseller, you first heard it here.
That's right. And I'm a first-time author. And, why did I write a book? We have learned so much over the last 9 years. And I really, wanted to share, a bunch of the stuff that we've learned. And yet I was very intimidated about writing a book because I've never done it before. I consider myself somebody with low attention span. And, you've written a dozen books, Thom, and that it's very hard to get one all the way from, first idea all the way to
I have written 12 of them, and there's a reason I haven't written one in 12 years because my attention span has gotten a lot shorter.
But, we were talking internally that I should write a book, and I said no because of that. But why did I write it? It's because I woke up on the last day of vacation in October of last year, and I had the entire book written when I woke up. And I went to bed the night before, and every night before that, not thinking I was going to write a book. And, here's the basic premise. There's a CEO named Sarah Foster, and she's killing it. All metrics are up. Stock price is up, profits are up, et cetera. And so she goes into her board meeting expecting, more kudos and pats on the back. But she comes out of her board meeting completely shaken because her board has given her 90 days to come up with an AI strategy or she's fired. And, what she learns over the next 90 days is essentially, the journey that all leaders are on. And along the way, she learns 11 original frameworks that our company has developed over the years that helps her understand how to, lead in this new age of AI. And it's a business fable in the style of Patrick Lencioni. And it's a fast read. It's got, it really marries the narrative format where you can really explore the psychological aspects of being a leader in this new age. And I have a lot of empathy for leaders today. Because for a lot of reasons, but primarily because the ground has shifted underneath their feet. And Sarah and her coworkers are basically, composites of people that we've met along the way in our journey of building an AI professional services firms where we've seen people succeed and fail. And we wanted to teach what we thought were the lessons for how to be successful.
So I love the business fable / business parable type book. How many characters are there in the book?
Well, that's a great question. There's a whole bunch, but there's basically 4 main characters. There's Sarah, who's the CEO. She has a board member who's a mentor, Paul. And then she has 2 division presidents. Julie, who is quietly killing it as far as AI in her division. And then Paul, who is very loudly failing as it relates to AI. And Sarah susses out, Mark is the one who's failing. And Sarah susses out quickly that Mark, is blustering and trying to, fake his way through it. And when she confronts him and he, breaks down and admits that he's been, being an imposter, but, just pushing through, she and he go on a journey to learn from the division president, Julie, who's really succeeding and learn, and they're trying to learn why she's succeeding and then how to apply that to the whole company.
Nice. Well, I think it's interesting that, this character, Mark, he's failing, but he's also trying to fake it till he makes it. He's trying to put on those airs. we see that a lot when times are changing, when there's disruption. There's a lot of people who are too scared to say, I don't know. So they pretend. I mean, I see people all the time who just BS their way through something. And in the end, it comes back to bite them every time. So in this world of AI and in all of these companies that are out there, small companies, medium companies, even enterprise companies, how many marks are there?
Well, any more than zero is too many, and there's a lot, Tom. But from my point of view, the psychological approach to take to leading in this new age of AI is to have the vulnerability and humility to say, you don't know what to do, and this is new, and this is that causes a lot of anxiety, and I'm scared. I'm scared for my job. I'm scared I'm not going to be able to be a successful leader, and and start from that point of view, because then you can say, okay, now how are we going to go figure this out? And, then you can go find people in your company, outside your company, that can, coach you, that can help you with the things that you realize that you need to do. But it really all comes from starting with that, taking that, just being vulnerable. And I don't think there's any other way to do it. And I have a lot of empathy for leaders who are leading in this new age of AI, because this is really hard.
I mean, it's hard if you're running a multi-billion-dollar business. It's just as hard if you're running a little nonprofit that's got, a few $100,000 as its top line. I mean, there's changes are coming, and, we all have to sort of realize that accepting disruption and figuring out how to do it is the only way to be standing tomorrow.
I completely agree. And that's, those are some of the lessons that come out throughout this book that Sarah, uncovers.
So let's look at sort of either from the book or just from your experience with all of the clients that you've worked with and everything else. When it comes to AI leadership, what are these challenges that leaders are facing in an AI era?
Well, I already said, I think the big one, which is, the fact that every industry is in the process of being disrupted today or will be soon. And building an effective AI strategy, which is what Sarah's been tasked to do by her board or be fired, I think is the essential task. And then it's to execute on that. And, almost no companies have the ability to do this in all of it internally. And so then it's a matter of how do you go find resources to be able to build an effective strategy and then execute on that by building out the capabilities. And that's what we've done for the past 11 years. Nice. Sorry, for the past 9 years. And then we teach a lot of what we learned through the 11 original frameworks that, as I said, we put into the book.
Sure. Well, share a couple of those frameworks with us. Let's not go through all 11, but give us your favorite frameworks.
Well, I won't try to teach it here because it's a bit more complicated, but the book is a nod to the central framework. So wayfinding. And wayfinding is a methodology that we came up with that really helps you parse through the potential use cases for AI in your company that will help you be successful, because it will help you figure out how to target the use case at strategically important areas. And it will also help you understand how to pick those use cases that are strategically important, that can be built and will have enough accuracy to give you business value. And if you do that, and by the way, built on proprietary data that you have. And if you do that, then you can, invest in a proof of concept to build that out and get it to production. And Tom, you may have seen stats like this out in the press, but there are stats that say only 5% of proofs of concept that people build in the AI-based proofs of concept get into production. Mm-hmm. Our company has a 96% success rate of getting proofs of concept into production. And why is that? It's because we have a lot of scar tissue from not succeeding that helped us build the wayfinding framework that helps us succeed. And so we are teaching that to people because we think it's it's important to be able to make successful investments in this space.
So this is your first podcast interview about the book. You've obviously,
how am I doing?
You're doing great. No, you're gonna sell tons of copies. What is the plan between now and October for you to help get the word out about the book and to continue to make sure that the world is ready for it?
That's a great idea. That's a great question. Again, Thom, I literally hung up before I got onto the call with you, Thom, with a really terrific book marketing company, and they specialize in helping do this. So, like Sarah, we're going to go find people who can help us be successful at this.
Nice.
But I will give you one anecdote, which is one of our clients is a Fortune, 250 company, and one of my co-author and one of our senior AI strategists asked if the head of HR for the company would read the book and consider whether it made sense to give to members of her team. And she read it last weekend. We gave her an advanced reader copy, and she came back and said she wants to give the book to the entire executive leadership team and then a bunch of other strategic people in the company. And so we're going to buy her 25 copies. And so she's our first bulk pre-order. But I think it's a really good sign that, that all happened. And by the way, I think of the book as, fun and bingeable. A lot of people have told me they've read it in just, a few sittings and, just a few hours, because it's a fast read, because it's a story. And yet you learn a lot throughout the book.
It's what I call several of my books. I call them airplane books, which is a term I sort of invented this term 20 years ago, that you could read it on a flight from Los Angeles to San Francisco. It's an airplane book, and that's what you want to have.
And that's if you invented that concept, I have been thinking about that same thing as we wrote this.
I think the concept's been out there, but I called it airplane books before anybody else did. So. As far as I know, I don't know. We'd have to ask AI if that's true. But
on all future podcasts, I'm going to give you credit when I say it's an airplane book.
I'll take it. So then, are you also working on like a presentation? Are we going to see you speaking at all the leadership conferences around the country?
That's part of the plan is to be able to share what we learned in this book with people. I think it's good stuff, and I think it's important. And we are ahead of other people because we've been doing this for a lot longer, and it feels really good to be able to share what we've learned.
Well, when the book comes out in the fall, we'll let you speak at one of our monthly breakfasts for Austin Technology Council if you want to.
I would welcome that, Thom.
Good, because you owe me one anyway, so that's good. So
it would be an honor. I owe you two, I think I said.
We'll take it. So I want to shift gears a little bit, because we did mention the fact that you and I are kind of old as dirt in this town, and we both lived through, here through the 90s and the early 2000s and all that stuff. You were with Austin Ventures back in the day, and where do you think Austin is today as a tech community? It's certainly a different place than it was in the late 90s, a different place than it was in the 2010s. What's the good, the bad, and the ugly about our community when we come to this ecosystem? What are we doing right, and where should Austin be paying attention to not do things wrong?
Thom, I think this is going to be a disappointing answer, but back when you and I first met, I was deeply involved in the whole ecosystem. And, for the last 9 years, I've been running a company virtually from this room, which is, one of my kids' old bedrooms now that I'm an empty nester. And, Kung Fu is a national company. And yes, we have some Austin-based clients, but we mostly work with, companies around the country. I've really I feel very disconnected from the Austin ecosystem, especially relative to how active you and I both were, when I first met you 30 years ago. So, I don't think I have a great answer to that. However, it is remarkable how much the tech industry has grown since I landed in Austin in '96, and there's way more capital. There's way more experienced startup people. There's way more big companies that have outposts or headquarters here. There's a lot more. I think one thing that Austin is very light on are large, successful tech companies headquartered here. So we have Apple, and we have Meta, and we have Google, and we have, lots of other things, but very few are headquartered here.
Yeah, well, we've had the history of the homegrown companies get to a certain size and they get bought by somebody bigger. That's always been one of Austin's
exactly.
things.
And bigger and not based here.
Right.
And so
exactly.
And then we end up with outposts. So it's the senior most leadership, I think, that we don't have here. That's a big glaring hole in our ecosystem.
One of the things that I'll add, since you haven't been paying attention for 9 years, one of the things I'll add that I think that we've done really well is we're no longer a one type of town. We were a software town when you first got here, right? I mean, we certainly had the history of semiconductors, and we had Dell here. There was some hardware going on, but we were a software town. We were never deep in the .coms, but we were very deep in internet software, Marcom software, all the different stuff that impacted the early days of the internet. Now, I mean, we've got obviously software and then Marcom stuff and all the traditional stuff that we were making back then, but we also have, more of the deep tech stuff, the robotics, the Neuralink type stuff. We have all this stuff going on. Space tech, med tech. There's about 12 verticals that are doing things. So I always laugh when there's articles that come out of the Silicon Valley that say, no real companies are being grown in Austin. And I'm like, oh my God. Look at all these companies, both from professional services, tech companies to, companies that are producing hardware and, sort of deep tech software stuff. It's amazing how diverse Austin is becoming. And that's a good thing for Austin.
I agree. And Thom, I think that you and what you're doing with ATC has, ATC's obviously been around a long time, but you have really energized it in a very impressive way. So
well, thank you for that.
Thank you for all you're doing for Austin.
Thank you. Well, we'll send you an invoice. We'll make you join now. Okay, so here is the deal. We are about to wrap this up. Is there any final words that you'd like to share with the people who've listened for 26 and a half minutes that you think, we should have told them this about leadership or about Kung Fu or anything you want to share?
No, but if I could put a shameless plug in.
Oh, please. Yes.
If you go to KungFu.AI/Wayfinding, you can see our landing page for the book. And if you search on Amazon for Wayfinding and you put in my last name, Straus, it will come right up to the top. And I would ask anyone who's listening to this that found any of this compelling to please pre-order. And if you do it right now, it would be especially helpful because our publisher said that if you do it between now and June 17th, it's much more valuable if you buy it on Amazon because that's the day that they do they pick how many books they're going to order for the initial print.
Nice.
And so I hope you will consider buying the book, and nice. I appreciate it.
Well, I'll go buy one right now. What the heck? So anyway, Stephen, it's been a pleasure to know you for 30 years. It's been a pleasure to have reconnected with you. And it is a pleasure to have had you here as a guest on Austin Tech Connect. And thank you to you, but also thank you to everybody who tuned in and listened. The audience keeps growing. It's a slow slog to run a podcast. There's a lot of podcasts out there that act like they have 1 million listeners, but we don't have 1 million listeners, but we're growing all the time. The audience keeps getting bigger, and that's because of you out there in the community. You share it with your coworkers. You share it with other people. We've been doing this show for 3.5 years, and so make sure that you're telling everybody. I told this story about a month ago, but I'll tell it again because it's just funny. There's no fact in it, and that is one of my friends was looking for a podcast to listen to about sort of the Austin tech scene, and he asked, I don't know which one, but he asked one of the AI engines, what is the best podcast about Austin? And it gave him 5 choices, but its first pick was Austin Tech Connect. So according to some random LLM, this is the podcast you're supposed to be listening to. So we'll see you all back here next week with the next interview on Austin Tech Connect. And in the meantime, check out Austin Technology Council and make sure that your company is supporting us.